I'm joined in studio by Deirdre. Deirdre, thanks very much for coming in. I don't know you. We haven't met before. We had a chat the other day on the phone, but you've listened to the podcast and whatever else you've been in and around listening to some of this stuff from me and maybe from others as well over the last couple of years. The reason why I was keen to have you in today was because we're talking about day-to-day finances, the foundation of your finances, and how do you control your finances on a day-to-day basis. And when I chatted to you, you seem to be on top of it. Right? You seem to be good at it. Yeah?
Yeah, for the most part.
For the most part. So tell me the structure you have on your day-to-day finances. How do you manage your money?
Well, I get paid monthly, so when I get it in, there's ABCs also automatically come out of my account before I even get paid. So that's automatic deductions before I get paid. And then I also transfer into my monthly account for the mortgage every single month as well when it first comes in, so it's gone out of my account. And then separately to all of that, I've figured out how much I have for my fixed expenses for different things like property tax, car tax,
the stuff that comes around once a year.
Into a separate account, and then I divide that by 12 so I know how much needs to go out every month, and then I take that amount separately into a different account, so then when those monthly or yearly payments come up, that they're already there. It obviously takes a while for it to build up.
So you're ready when it comes at you. And what you've just described to me there, you started by saying, yeah, for the most part, you're on top of it. It sounds to me you have a system in place and you've got it there and it's worked and it's structured and it works for you, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. What does that mean for you? So do you never have a financial surprise then?
Well, not really, no. I've plan as much as you can. I don't know, other things out of it would be personal things, so like birthdays and stuff, they come around regularly, but if there's other things that might come out of it, I don't know, a work event or different things that you mightn't fully plan for, but there's always that additional money is there anyway, so the buffer, if you want to call it, is there, and that's what those other...
And is this something, Deirdre, that has come natural to you? Is it something you've always been like? Or have you just learned it over the years? I've
always been kind of like that, I suppose. I don't know, being the oldest child probably is another symptom of it as well. And then, I suppose my day-to-day job is working in IT, so you kind of have a structured approach of how you tackle and deal with things as well.
And where do you think you got that from? So if it's always been there, do you think it's from when you were a child looking at your parents and how they managed money? Do you think it's the responsibility of being the eldest and looking at the rest of them? Where do you think, what instilled it in you at the start?
Probably as I got older from my parents, because they wouldn't have had a great amount of money when we grew up, but we were okay. Like, we weren't kind of worried about getting the dinner on the table kind of thing. But also then I suppose my mum, when we were born, myself and my sister, she then went unemployed essentially to look after the pair of us. So there was one parent in the house then looking after the income and looking after the finances. So if we did want to go on holidays, which wasn't abroad that often when we were kids, but it was once every 2 years, which was nice. But in order for them to do that, they had to plan and save up for it in order to be able to obviously be fortunate enough to go abroad.
And it sounds like your mum and dad were quite open about that. That was kind of like, we're and I'm sure they didn't use the word sacrifice to the kids, but we're kind of making a financial decision here that mum is going to stay at home with you too, and dad is going to go out and bring the income in, and we're going to have to sacrifice on other things, i.e. we're not going to have a holiday every year, we're going to have a holiday every second year.
Yeah.
Was that something that was communicated openly in the house? How was money in the house when you were growing up?
It wasn't communicated, I suppose, when we were children. It was more communicated as we got older and started to understand things a bit more. When we were kids, it would be like if you go into the shops and stuff and you'd be wanting a toy or something like that, we'd be told no, like put it on the Santa list, or we'll get it for your birthday and things like that. So it was only when we started to get older that we realised the habits or the things that we grew up with. As we got older, we kind of then started to put two and two together and kind of go, oh.
And sorry, how many siblings do you have?
Two of us.
Two of us. So just the two of you?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're not twins or anything, but you must be close in age, are you?
Year and a half. So
year and a half. Okay. So you the two of you, and is it your sister?
Yeah.
And are you both, we won't, I know your sister's not here to defend herself, but are you both good with money? You're about to throw her under the bus, are you? Okay. Is she not? No.
No, well, she is good at money in different aspects, in different ways, but we'd be both kind of similar in it. I don't know, I can't speak for her, but I probably put a bit more of a structure in it.
Okay.
But she is still good with money, like she's...
Okay, so she's good in different ways, and I do appreciate she's not here to defend herself or say, no, you're wrong, right? And all sisters are going to kill each other anyway when it comes to this stuff. But I suppose what I'm really trying to get at there is you both grew up in the same house, right? Yeah. You're both good on different aspects. And do you have any thoughts in your head about why she's particularly better with money in certain areas than you, and why you're better with maybe structure or process? It's
both of our brains, I suppose. Even our career choices were very different. So she'd be more of the visual side of things,
right?
And the creative mind of it, whereas I'd be more of the logic, like the rational kind of approach. So that's kind of, I guess, where the money side of it then, if you want to take it to that aspect, would also come from where our two different mindsets would have two different approaches to it.
So really what you're describing to me is you both have different types of the way your brain functions is different. You were both looking at the same thing. You were both experiencing the same thing. You were both having the same communication because you're similar age with your parents about money, but yet you both took different things out of it.
Yeah.
And do you think what I'm thinking about now is the listener who's kind of going, oh, Deirdre has it all sorted. She has it done. She has all the benefits and the rewards from that. But when you think about you and your sister, and again, your sister's not here, but when you think about you and your sister, do you think you can watch her and learn things and that she does better than you and apply them to yourself? And vice versa? Do you think there's learnings from watching what other people are doing? And I suppose what I'm trying to get to here, Deirdre, is if someone's sitting at home going, Deirdre's just too far ahead of me, I'm never going to be as good as that. Can people learn from what you're doing?
Yeah, like in a way she can be more spontaneous, that like if something random will come up that she may do it. Whereas with me, say, if I went away on a trip last year, for example, to Mongolia, and it came up somewhat spontaneous, but then I had to look at every aspect of it and like logically go, right, does this make sense and stuff like that. The experience obviously is great, but I also was going, right, can I fit this in? Where she may just literally this weekend just go, oh, I'm going somewhere, or things like that.
And did going to Mongolia freak you out when you had were you panicked about it? Were you like, oh God,
no.
Financially, you were okay, and you still did it, but you just analysed it before you did it, whereas she would just do it and analyse it afterwards.
Exactly.
Okay. And do you think you could learn a little bit from her?
Yeah.
One of the things that I would say is, and I'm not suggesting this is for you, but just in general, when you do get total control over your money, which it seems on a day-to-day basis, I know nothing about your long-term finances, but on a day-to-day basis, it seems like you've got a good handle on it. If you've got a good structure that works and a system that works for you. But when you get to that stage, you have to reap the rewards. And I'm not saying you're not, but you do have to reap the rewards that you do blow out from time to time. You do, and you like, life is not about accumulating a big pot of gold. It's about using your money to support the life you want to have, right? And what I would say is there's a little bit of your sister seems to just be one extreme, not extreme, but one end of the spectrum, and you're on the other end of the spectrum when we're looking at really bluntly. I do think they merge together at points. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay. So when you think about somebody who's listening to this at the moment, and they're trying to get to where you are, right?
Yeah.
Did you... as you said, you learned from your parents as you became an adult, right? Did you then go off and do any type of other learning? Like some of the wording you're using may be mine, it may be not, right? Maybe you picked it up along the way, but is there any particular sources of information, say me, first of all, right? But is there any particular sources of information where you kind of said, you know what, I really got a lot out of that? Or did you ever read any books? Or did you want to watch, was there anything that you kind of said, yeah, that really worked for me?
I suppose during COVID or when we were locked down, there was a lot more emphasis from what I could gather even online, that like this industry or this area is kind of being more in people's day-to-day lives as we're talking about it more openly, whereas before all of this it was like, right, you got your salary and people did whatever it was magically with it, and then you either were struggling and waiting for the next payday, so you're having beans on toast for the week kind of thing, or else you just went and you were fine with it. But I think lately I've noticed that it's a bit more open, that people can seem to discuss kind of how things are getting on and just
It's really interesting you say that, because one of the things I do, like I do a lot of corporate speaking, and you'd be speaking to a room with 50 people or 500 people or whatever it is, and you'd be in some companies and you'd be talking to them, and one of the call outs I'll always put out at the end, or most days when the topic is going along, is I think in this country we've got really good in the last 10 or 15 years about talking about mental health. Okay. And it's okay not to be okay. And that's exactly where we should be. And we can talk to our friends or to certain people in our lives that we can go to if we're not feeling right. But I don't think we've broken the taboo on talking about money.
No.
And I think that's something that I've been trying my hardest to kind of break. Each time I'm standing in front of 2 or 3 or 400 people and I'm talking to them, I'm asking them, please just go and talk to somebody about money this week that you've never spoken to before about money. And let's break the taboo. And that's exactly what you're describing to me there. You actually found that during lockdown, it's starting to get easier and it's a bit more in our face. And hopefully that's as a society, as opposed to just that you happen to be on Instagram during lockdown and it changed it.
No, but even general conversations, I've noticed that people are kind of getting a bit more open and discussing about it. Again, it seems to be a bit more of a generational thing back, like in my parents' day. You just didn't talk about it like that. You just kind of got on with it. Whereas now it seems to be a bit more kind of like that, even how much, I don't know, was the mortgage or different things like that. People are kind of discussing more freely about it. Maybe is it things are more online as well, easy accessible. I'm just picking the mortgage because it's the easiest one, but like you can look online for that information. But
I think though, Deirdre, to be fair to your parents, I think they were probably a little bit ahead of their time. The fact that you and your sister were exposed, and as it became appropriate, you became a bit more exposed to what was going on with the family finances. And I think it served you both well. And a lot of parents would just shut the door and you'd never have known what was going on behind it. And either you got something, you didn't get something, but you didn't get an explanation as to why you did or didn't. I'm talking in general, not talking about your family. The fact that there was any discussion at all, or it was a bit open, or it was, no, you put that back and you get that for Christmas, or you get that for your birthday and you don't get that right now, is a very valuable lesson for you have to be taught. And it looks to me like you're getting the benefit of it. And your sister's getting the benefit of it in a different way, and the two of you can learn from each other. But it is great to hear that you're finding in general people are talking about money a bit more openly, and it does make us, like, if COVID taught us anything, is it's easier to tackle these things together. And what we do know about statistically is every 3 to 5 years we're going to have some type of recession type event, and the next one we go into, it's not if another one's going to happen, it's when is another one going to happen. And the next one we go into, if we're talking to each other about money, it'll be easier to get through it.
Yeah, I think so.
What's your biggest fear when it comes to money? Do you ever have fears now?
No.
Isn't that the beauty of it? Because you are on top of it, and it does sound to me like you control your finances, they don't control you. And you've put the work into getting the structure in place, and that leaves you in the position where you need to go to, where was it, Mongolia? You need to go to Mongolia, you can go. With a little bit of analysis, you can go. Is there anything that, if you were to give one tip to somebody, just as a kind of closing remark, if you were to give, if someone's listening to you at home and they're kind of going, was there one game changer for you that made it all very different and made it easier for you?
The main thing was getting a spreadsheet. And literally starting from the start of whatever your salary is, minus whatever if you're paid monthly or fortnightly, whatever your deductions are, and just literally seeing on paper what you have left. And then you can decide what you want to do on it. If there's additional money left over, then is it a case of you save some, or is it you want to go and buy a nice pair of shoes or a bag or whatever it is you want to do with what's left over? Or if it's on the other end of the scale that you're realising that you're minus when you're reducing whatever your fixed is out of it, then where is it you can cut down? So is it subscription services and stuff? So just seeing it in paper in front of you and then seeing what you can do from it.
I think that's a really great tip. And you're in IT and you can do it in Excel. People shouldn't be thinking they can only do the piece of paper. Pen and piece of paper is really, really strikingly powerful. because when we write stuff down, I'm not a psychologist, but when we write stuff down physically with pen and paper, it just goes in a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And it has more of an impact. But what you're describing there is excellent. If you're on the top end and you're doing okay and you have enough money to last the end of the month, great. Then see what extra you have to do, what are the things you want to do. And if you're on the other end of the spectrum and you're a bit short, at least you know in advance that you're short. And you can make decisions now about where you're going to cut back in order to fulfill that shortfall and make sure that you get to the end of the month this month. Deirdre, it was absolutely a pleasure to have you in. Thank you very much. And what I will say is I know this takes time out of your day, but you said something interesting before we went on, before we turned the mic on. Why did you come in today?
Just to hopefully help one person from this conversation that we've had. So whether it's a small thing that they've got from it, literally just one thing that tweaks their brain or their mind to go, oh, that makes sense to me. Yeah. Hopefully that's something.
It's interesting, Deirdre, because what you're telling me is you did this not for you, but for somebody else, just one person. And what we'll do is I will ask if you did get something from the conversation. I've no doubt you did. Stick it in the comments on Instagram so that Deirdre can see that you helped that one person. Maybe you are the one person. Deirdre, thank you for your time.
Thank you.